Hello, intellectuals and bookworms. It's time for another long overdue book review. Sorry for being gone for so long. The perils of having a college schedule and doing it in the middle of a pandemic. So, I was in San Diego for a week as part of a vacation. On the other good news, I did get some nature footage that I'll probably upload later. So here's our book today, The Great Deluge. Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans, the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Basically, this book proposes to, based on a series of site interviews with people who were there and who memories, recollections, scholarly work, all of it to determine when different governors were aware that things were going to shit. How did they react? Decisions made, missteps, everything. Because almost everyone knows, even if you're not in the U.S., that Hurricane Katrina was an unmitigated clusterfuck. And it was an unmitigated clusterfuck not because people prepared, but because a lot of people were under the assumption that, oh, hurricanes always miss us. We don't need to evacuate. And by the time they realized, oh shit, this is a big one, it was too late to evacuate. And of course, the levees breached. Now, technically speaking, blaming the Army Corps of Engineers, while it is very easy to blame them for fucking up, the levees themselves were never designed to take a head-on hit of a Category 5 hurricane, because prior to this point, no major U.S. city had ever been directly hit by the eyewall of a hurricane, of a Category 5 hurricane, ever. And the eyewall hovered right over it. The levees were designed to take a Category 3, a high Category 3 hurricane, not a Category 5. And of course, after the fact, the Army Corps of Engineers approved like a $50 or $100 billion project to expand the levees outward and use state-of-the-art technology to contain it, because the thing is, the government didn't think that Lake Pontchartrain would be a flood risk, so they didn't put levees there because, well, who could have thought that it would flood? And, of course, also the 2005 hurricane season was the worst on record. Never before had they ran out of hurricane names. In the U.S., we name our hurricanes from A to Z with a rotating list. They ran out, so they started using Greek letters. And there were horrible hurricanes. Katrina, Rita, all of those were some of the strongest on record back-to-back. And New Orleans, it also describes how New Orleans essentially descended into anarchy because, well, when there's no government and when people are desperate, looting occurs. And there's a very fine line between looting and, well, just scavenging resources that you actually need. For example, people running out of the Walmart with TVs, obvious case of looting. Someone stealing a loaf of bread or some food and leaving a note saying, we're sorry we had to take this bread to feed our families, we'll pay you back. It's less clear that the second one is wrong. So it describes, and it also describes attempts by, well, different groups to maintain order, the National Guard, the governor's office, so on. And it describes how essentially, for example, Democratic Governor Blanco of Louisiana was in a tight spot politically. She was a Democratic governor in an otherwise Republican state that was slowly turning Republican. And of course, George Bush, as president, for some odd reason, wanted to play the political game and basically undercut Blanco so that he could get a more friendly Republican governor in office. So it's an example of, my political opponents are in office here, what better way to get rid of them than to just refuse to help? And of course, it also details how George Bush basically refused to visit Katrina, or almost literally anywhere that was damaged in the middle of a hurricane, which definitely hurt his popularity and shot himself in the foot. The closest he did was a flyover and then a quick stop in Mississippi and Alabama, some of where he had governors who he knew and who were friends of him and so on. And it also details the incredible story of heroism from ordinary people who stepped up to save people's lives. So it's a really great book. As you can tell from the top, I got it used. I bought it at my grandparents', I believe, a year ago, or a summer ago, maybe 2 summers ago, from the antique place, because it sells books there. They're in the middle of rural Indiana, so you buy books wherever you can. I may or may not have paid the price on it. My grandparents normally will pay for stuff for me. But it's a really good book, and if you want to understand how things went wrong, it's definitely worth it. Again, the author says that he basically covered all of the parishes of Louisiana that were adversely affected, most of Mississippi that was adversely affected, and so on with Alabama. He only missed like 2 areas that were impacted, and they were impacted the least. So great book. And technically speaking, definitely worth reading, since climate change is making hurricanes get worse. And I know what I'm saying is controversial, but climate change is real. It's caused by humans, and it's going to result in things getting worse. And honestly, the only people who deny that are people in the fossil fuel industry who, it's against their interest, and creationist retards. So, yeah, and here's the other thing. This year may be on track to be the hottest year on record. Worst wildfires in history caused by climate change. Hurricane season that is on track to be about as bad as 2005. We're already on the Greek alphabet names now because we ran out of them. And essentially the reason why this hurricane season wasn't worse is it turns out that the Army Corps of Engineers' second attempt to build a levee system to prevent another Katrina from happening was recently completed, and it was tested because a huge hurricane hit New Orleans. So I guess we fixed it. So great book, definitely worth a read. This is one of the first of the new book reviews I'm going to get out for you. I may do some more political rants, why I hate certain companies, so on. So I would like to tell all of you that I'll be getting out content more frequently now. I've noticed that at the start, when I was looking at my metrics, some of my videos were seen by hundreds and hundreds of people, but only a couple people subscribed. And now what I'm seeing is, even though my subscriber count is growing, some of my videos are only being seen by like 10 people. So if you like my content, like, comment, and subscribe if you've not done so. This is Sean Hartnett signing out.